And so the solution I submit is to go back to Genesis like Paul did and to defend it as reliable history, showing that real science helps to support our faith. And this means not merely to teach Genesis in our churches, but to counteract the claims that the world makes, just as Paul counteracted those false idols. We need to, look at what the world says and show, no, that's a mistaken claim. Actually, real science backs up the truth of Genesis. When people say dinosaurs lived millions of years ago, for example, some of the things that we've learned at this conference can help to answer that. Don't you know about the soft tissue that's been found that's unfossilized, and this can't last for millions of years, right? When people say, don't fossils show that they're millions of years old, much longer than the biblical timescale, we can say, no, we've got all kinds of fossil examples that formed obviously quickly, like this whole group of fish all swimming in the same direction. If these had died one at a time and sunk to the ocean floor, they would be pointing every which direction, not all moving together. And they obviously had to be frozen quickly before they could even wiggle out of these positions. If people say, don't canyons require millions of years of slow erosion? No, don't you know about Burlingame Canyon, for instance? It was in 1926, just a less than 10 feet deep drainage ditch. Some tumbleweeds got collected in there and dammed up the water, and when the dam burst, it carved out this massive canyon 120 feet deep in just 6 days. By the way, that's a person standing there for scale. Here at the conference, we've learned about diamonds that have been carbon dated. By other radiometric dating methods, they're said to be over 1 billion years old, and yet they come back with carbon-14 ages of tens of thousands of years. And we've seen that there are reasons to challenge that. I don't accept the absolute dates, because even those are based on assumptions that can't be verified. But carbon-14 is actually the ally of the biblical time scale, because it contradicts the millions and billions of years dates that the other methods give. Oh, but don't you know 8 men disprove Adam and Eve? No, I learned at the conference about Lucy, right? And I heard this talk by Chris Roop, and he explained how initially they were described as a mixture of human and ape bones. And so this is not really a legitimate taxon. But the bones that are genuinely ape-like clearly demonstrate that Lucy was a knuckle walker and a tree climber. And so there's good reason to be skeptical about these ideas that she walked upright on 2 legs just like modern humans do, right? Or when somebody says, don't you know that the variations in our genetics and our skin colors, we have such different skin colors. Doesn't that disprove your biblical idea about Adam and Eve? No, haven't you heard about these 2-tone twins who came from the same mom and dad? If you have the right combination of DNA in mom and dad, then you can produce a range of skin shades in a single generation. And it's just skin shades, right? Because we're all the same brown color, just light versus dark, right? And so these are just a handful of examples. We've encountered many more this week, and in our literature, there's so much more. I hope you will avail yourselves of these answers so that you can show others that Genesis is reliable. And this really does have an impact on people. We receive testimonies all the time at CMI about how lives have been transformed. I want to share just a few of those with you now to show you that creation evangelism is effective. And so these are not really to sort of pat ourselves on the back, but to encourage you to take part, because we can see results if we're faithful in obedience to God.